I'm glad that you are here. We are having a fantastic week so far, and I'm glad that you are here to continue our talks. We've been talking about passion and commitment, and a simple statement that we've been putting together, that statement being nevertheless. And so every day this week, we've been talking about this statement, nevertheless, three words joined together as one, and how they can transform your entire life. So I am glad that you're here because tonight we are going to talk about your passionate community, awakening your passionate community, because it is essential as you go to this next level in life that you have some people around you that are passionate and that are awake, right? We don't want people to be sleeping on us during this time and sleeping on the opportunity. So let me say hi to a few more people. Victor, good to see you. Linda Johnson, good to see you. One Elias, good to see you. Maker Mish, good to see you. Uh, Richard, good to see you. Joanne Smith, good to see you. All right, Letitia, good to see you. So everybody, everywhere, I'm glad that you are here. So let's just jump in. Let's recap. So we've been talking this week about nevertheless, making a decision in our lives that we are no longer choosing the less. And I use as a frame of reference for this story, a story that you've probably heard and is pretty popular this time of the year, and it relates to Jesus. And you might not be a Jesus person, but it's all right. You can hang with me, listen to the story, and I'm sure it'll encourage you anyway. But Jesus is at this moment in time where he's being faced with a pretty huge decision. He's being faced with a moment of conflict where he knows he's going to have to pay a big price to complete this assignment and task that he's here to do. So he's in this garden and he's praying, and this is a moment of anguish, turmoil, because he knows what he's about to go through is going to be a horrendous experience. And he says, if there's any way that this situation can pass from me, if there's any way that I don't have to do this, like if this cup can pass from me, is what he said. He said, just please let this cup pass from me. And then immediately after that, he says, nevertheless. One word, nevertheless. But if we break it down, never the less. He makes a decision to not choose the lesser route. He says, nevertheless, not my will, not this me wanting to get out of this situation, but thine be done. I'm going to complete my assignment. And so we talked about that. Nevertheless, making this decision that we get to this place in life, we say, I'm not choosing the lesser anymore. I'm tired of living in a lesser place. I'm not making lesser decisions. I'm tired of lesser relationships. I'm tired of living in less. Because less and lack go hand in hand, okay? So if you're operating in the lesser, you're also operating in the lack. But he says, nevertheless, which is immediately for us a shift into abundance. Because early on in Jesus' life, he says, I am here. I have come that you might have life and have life more abundantly. So it makes total sense that in this statement, he would say, nevertheless. Because he's like, no, I'm here for abundance. So we're making a shift in all of our lives to a place of abundance. And what does that require? Yesterday, we talked about commitment. Making a commitment, deciding in our heart, decision meaning that something is being cut off, something has to be eliminated, something has to die. Right? When you make a decision, something's cut off, something has to die. You got to let something go. You can't hold on to everything after making a decision. Something has to change. You want to change your health, then you need to make some decisions, right? I need to start exercising some more, which means I need to cut off this idea that I don't need to be moving and being active. I need to change my diet. That means I need to cut off some of these behaviors and mindsets and some of these choices that I've made with my food. I need to cut that off. I desire more in my relationship, in my marriage, with my children, whatever it is, wherever you decide that you want to have more, then you are deciding to cut off the lesser activities. I'm not going to operate that way anymore. You're elevating your standard for life. You want to be treated differently, then that means you are cutting off this idea and notion that you are not good enough and that people can just handle you any old kind of way. No, you're making a commitment to the greater. But you're also making a commitment to the conflict. See, here's the thing. When you make a decision, when you make a commitment to the greater, you are also making a commitment to a conflict. That nevertheless statement that Jesus made had so much stress attached to it that he began to sweat, and his blood vessels were bursting in his head, and his sweat was as blood dripping to the ground. That's how stressful the moment was. He knew he was making a commitment to a conflict. See, your commitment isn't, you're not committing to something easier as you move into this greater place in your life. I'm encouraging you, and I want you to know that your commitment is to a conflict that is actually going to bring about the greatness in you. See, the reason that you need to make this commitment, the reason that you must make this commitment is because there's something greater in you. You deserve better out of life. You deserve better in your relationships. You deserve better with your health. You deserve that. But you won't have that until a commitment is made. See, here's the thing. Sometimes we'll say to people, oh, girl, I've heard a lot of women say this to each other, like, girl, you deserve better. No, you don't. No, you don't. You don't just deserve better. You know when you deserve better? You deserve better when you commit to a standard that requires better. That's the only time that we can deserve better. If we don't commit personally to a greater standard, we actually don't deserve the greater standard being met. That blanket statement of you deserve better, it's actually a trap. That's setting you up for failure, because there are some conditions that go along with better. So when Jesus made this commitment, he says, nevertheless, then an angel showed up and started strengthening him. See, it's when you make your commitment that things can then happen after the commitment that will strengthen you. How do we know that we are going to have conflict? Because strength and conflict go together. You go into the gym, you want to start building your muscles. You say, I am going to engage in this moment of conflict with these weights, with these exercises, with this new diet and nutrition plan, with going to, with giving quality time to my spouse and putting aside my schedule and being disciplined here or there. That's a conflict that is going to strengthen you. So you're strengthened by the commitment to conflict. And then tonight, we're going to talk about this, because after he makes his commitment, nevertheless, then the angel shows up and is strengthening him. Then he sees his disciples, he sees his people, he sees those that are with him, his boys, and they're asleep. They are asleep. And he says, wake up. He says, wake up and pray so that you don't fall into temptation. And so after the nevertheless and the commitment of yesterday, there's a nevertheless community that we need. He says, wake up. I need you to wake up. Why? Why do you need people around you that are awake? Because when you're asleep, your awareness is lower. We are not as aware in the moment when we are asleep as when we are awake. This is why you need people that are awake. You need to be around people that you can say, listen, I need you to be awake. And if you are a person that's there for someone else, you need to be awake. Why? Because your awareness is greater. You're able to see more. He says, wake up and pray so you don't fall into temptation. There's something about this idea of being asleep that says, man, if you're not being aware, you'll fall into temptation. And we can think about this. We've all been there when we're making this move towards something greater in our life. But if we're not really paying attention, what'll happen is we're not on guard. Then we'll fall into the traps of temptation. We'll go back to the way that we used to do things. We'll start calling that person that, used to make us feel so good, but we know they're not good for us. We'll stay around the job a little longer than we need to, even though we know it's time to go. It's time to launch the business. It's time to do what you're supposed to do. Your next level is calling you, but we'll fall asleep, get back into the, comfortable place. When we're asleep, like they're in this moment. Let's think about this. They're in this moment where they know their guy, their main man, their friend is getting ready to be, their leader is getting ready to be crucified. He's getting ready to be beat up and tortured and all this stuff. And they were asleep. Pretty big moment. And yet they were comfortable enough to go to sleep. See, we need some people around us that understand the moment and say, no. One thing I'm not going to do right now, I'm not going to be asleep on this moment. I need to be fully aware of what's happening. And so we can sometimes see stories and see what happens. We don't have to repeat them. We get to learn from them. So what we want is, in this moment of a nevertheless commitment, we want nevertheless community. Meaning, I need some people around me that get it. I need some people around me that are awake. And if I'm one of the people that's there for somebody else, I need to be aware, so that the temptation that would go along with this commitment, the temptation that would rise up to push against this commitment, I need to be aware of this so that we could fend it off. That's what it's about. He's like, nevertheless, I'm not choosing the lesser route. This is a hard thing. I have to be strengthened in this process. So while being strengthened, if we, we know when you're trying to be strengthened, the temptation that's going to rise up against you is the thing that says, you can just go back to the easy way. You can pick the lower, lesser road, because strengthening is hard. Strengthening is challenging. Everything less than that is easier. See, it's hard for you to get your dream off the ground. It's hard for you to get your idea off the ground. It's hard for you to mend the brokenness of a relationship. It's hard to mend your mental health and wellness and get yourself into a healthy place. And it's hard to move when you've been in a place for a long time. That's hard. All of that is hard. The easy thing is to stay in the comfort zone. Just leave things how they've been. Oh, it's not that bad. I've made it this long. I can just keep going. And you probably can. But here's the thing we know about it. We all know when we're having our internal conversation, our internal dialogue, that dialogue where we're able to hear ourselves and it's completely true, because you can't really lie to yourself. You can lie to other people, but you're not really lying to yourself. But on the inside, when we choose the lesser, we know. There's something on the inside of us that begins to resonate at a lower level when we know we've chosen the lesser. So the community that you have around you, a nevertheless community around you, would say, no, don't go back to him. Don't go be in a relationship with him because it's convenient. No, you deserve better. Stick to your standards. You deserve that standard that you desire. Don't go just be with her because she's easy. No, you deserve better. No, don't just eat that because it's convenient. No, you deserve better. Your health, your body deserves better. No, stick to the plan, stick to the course. Come on, I'll go to the gym with you. I'll exercise with you. Girl, call me. Man, come on, let's go. You need some help? I'll go with you. Don't give up. Don't go back. I'm looking out for you. I'm awake. I see you. We need that. You need that person that can be around you. We need that accountability. We are made for community and connection, contribution to one another. We are not meant to be islands all alone. And so it's very important that in this time that we look at one another and say, I'm awake on this situation. I'm awake. And this thought of prayer, you might be like, well, I don't pray. Well, a prayer is a conversation, right? A conversation to God, with God. You might, I don't believe in God. All right, well, I can't really help you. If you don't want to have a prayer, if you don't want to pray, have a conversation with God, okay. But here's what we're saying. We're saying, look, I want to have this conversation with God and say, look, God, I don't want to fall into the temptation. I want the abundance of nevertheless. I want the abundance of that. What does that look like for me? What do I need to be aware of? Because there are going to be things that you face in this life, in this journey, as you decide and commit to go to your next level. There are going to be things that you face. We just finished our 40 days of fasting and fulfillment. And so in these 40 days, we would be faced with things that would challenge us. When we said, I'm letting go of something, well, it's that very thing that shows up. See, my birthday fell in the midst of our 40 days of fasting and fulfillment. This is probably the first year in a long time that I did not have birthday cake and eat it. Like some of the young people that I'm around, they actually bought me a birthday cake. It's in the freezer. I just remembered. It's in the freezer right now. And it looked delicious. Vanilla icing and vanilla cake. And it looked and smelled so good. And I was like, No, this is my time of fasting. I'm pulling away from sugar. I'm not taking that into my system. So I had to back off of that. But the temptation was there, but I was awake. I was aware that no, this isn't, I'm committed to something. So something that I've never done before, I cut my cake, put it in foil, and it's in the freezer. I've never had cake last that long that I needed to put it in the freezer. So like as we look at your life, you know the same things. It could be something great, it can be something small. Like, look, this is a part of the struggle, but the struggle is for a greater glory. I've already given the punchline. You've already heard it. You know that if you've heard the story once or never before, here's what happens. Spoiler alert. Jesus goes through this process, gets crucified, gets buried, and then is resurrected, victorious. So, guess what? The punchline for this whole story, your whole entire process of nevertheless commitment, nevertheless community, nevertheless conflict and struggle, all of that equals you stepping into a greater place. That is the punchline. Something is going to die, but something greater is going to be resurrected. It's a natural part of nature. You bury a seed, not because you want to harvest a seed. You bury a seed because you want a harvest of a lot of fruit. What you allow to die, what you commit to letting go of right now, will produce a greater glory in your life. If you decide, I am not staying with this knucklehead that mistreats me, that is the seed that you are burying. You're like, that's dead. That's over. On the other side, you can expect greater relationships. It might not even be in the form of romance. It might be. But you can expect when you put your foot down and say, I'm not accepting this anymore, you can expect greater on the other side. When you go into the job and somebody's mistreating you and they don't appreciate you and it's so hard for you to get a raise, even though you've been working there and being so diligent and nobody wants to bump you up or anything like that. When you decide, you know what, there's something I need to make a move, there's something on the other side that's going to take you to a greater level. Whenever something dies, you plant that seed. You're like, nope, I'm planting this seed. This thing has to die because there's something greater that I desire in my life. You can expect greater if you cultivate and nurture that. You don't just get to plant it and then walk away. No, there's some cultivation. You got to garden that thing. You have to cultivate your standards. When you put your foot down, it's not just I'm putting my foot down, I'm walking away. No, no, no. It's I'm putting my foot down and now I need to cultivate this thing. I need to tend to this place where I'm taking this stand. There's something greater that I'm moving into. There is life more abundantly that I'm stepping into. I am getting out of this lesser place. Nevertheless, you could say this, nevertheless, always the more, always the greater. I'm choosing the greater path. I'm choosing the higher place. I'm pressing towards this higher mark. I'm pressing to have this greater prize, right? That you're making a shift out of the less, out of the lack into abundance. It's a great place to be. Is there conflict? Yes. Will it require commitment? Yes. Do you need community around you? Yes. Why? Because it's going to be challenging. But it is so worth it. And you are worth it. There is a treasure inside of you that is worth being cultivated, worth being protected. There are ideas and dreams and visions and love and passion and relationships and businesses and ministries and outreaches, and all that stuff is in you. Creative ideas, all that's in you. It has to be cultivated. And you deserve something greater. You deserve your greatest shot at being healthy. So yeah, sure, you have to change your diet. That's a joy, that's a pleasure. Why? Because you're making an investment into the greatest person in your life, yourself. You're making a deposit into your own health and well-being, your longevity. That's not a punishment. I'm not telling you to cut all the chips out forever. I have a bag of Tostitos in my closet, in my, cabinet now. It's okay. Right? But the discipline of training yourself towards where you want to go, you're worth that. You're worth that. It will cost you, It'll cost you some relationships. There are some people in your life right now that will choose not to wake up. They will never become aware of you. There are just some people, they don't personally care if you flourish or not. And you're gonna have to let that go. You're gonna have to, that might be some of the dying. You're like, you know what? This relationship has to die. Because truth be told, you know that it's not serving you anyway. You know there are some people in your life that you get around them and they drain your vitality. They drain the life out of you and you know it. And you just, what I say all the time, you just manage miserable. You're like, this is so miserable, but I'm just going to manage it. No, that is not life more abundantly. Managing miserable is not life more abundantly. I'm not telling you to be mean to them or disrespectful to them because they might be family members and all that. But you have to draw the line somewhere. At some point, you have to draw the line and realize you are worth protecting. Your environment is worth protecting. Why? Because there's life to be produced out of that environment that is not only for you, because a tree doesn't bear fruit for the tree. A tree bears fruit so that someone else can eat from it. The fruit of your life is not for you. The fruit of your life is so that someone else can be nourished by it. The fruit of your life, your story, is not for you. It's to help somebody else overcome. It's to help somebody else make it. This is why it's so important for you to keep going. This is why it's important for you to tell your story, because your story will help somebody else overcome their situation. Because they looked at you, they can say, oh, that person made it, I can make it. But if you are stuck in the lesser place of thinking that you have nothing to give, someone else that's around you is being robbed because there's no fruit on the tree. If you think that your book doesn't need to be written, if you think your song doesn't need to be sung, if you think your nonprofit doesn't need to start, or you think your cleaning service, whatever it is that you do, whatever it is you've been thinking about, whatever it is that has been calling you, whatever it is that someone has recognized as genius in you, if you just kind of downplay it, oh, it's not that big deal, it's just what I do, you're missing the moment. You're missing the opportunity. See, everybody is not designed to go to the cross and bear the sins of the world. That's not everybody. That's not everybody's assignment. And check this out. Not even Jesus could do your assignment. Because your assignment is your assignment. Your gifts are your gifts. Your talents are your talents. Your story is your story. Not even Jesus could do your assignment. Like, how wonderful is that? You're so special. Not even Jesus could do what it is that you are called to do. And you think it's something wrong with you because you've been kind of just trying to fit in. Nah, it's not time for you to try to fit in. It's time for you to be exclusive and in this unique place of being whoever you are meant to be, doing whatever it is that you do. Don't trivialize it. Don't minimize it. Don't think that it's nothing. It is something. It is something. I saw one day, I was driving down the street and I saw this man and he had this car, and on the side of this car, he said on his car, I pick up dog poop. And his car was fully wrapped and it looked great, right? But his thing, what was his thing? I pick up dog poop. And guess what? For people that have dogs that don't want poop in their yard, fantastic. He's their guy. But that's not glamorous, but I'm sure somebody calls him. Don't just stop downplaying your thing. You know me, I call it your inner oddball, you're weird. Whatever it is, don't stop downplaying it. Get yourself around some people and that are awake to who you are. Get in some conversations with some other strange people and just start sharing and having dialogue and start having that place where you start to pray like, Lord, I just I want to be aware of what's going on in my life. So I'm not tempted to give up on this thing that is in me, this gift, this talent, this ability, this passion, this love, whatever it is. I don't, the temptation, let me just tell you, the temptation is to get you to give up on your assignment. The temptation is to get you to throw in the towel and minimize whatever it is that you do. Because if that can get in your mind and you just get a little bit off track, the ripple of effects of that were meant to happen never will. But when you make that move, when you say, I'm committed, I'm not going back, I'm going higher, I want greater, I'm holding to this standard, I want more. In time, you'll see. You'll see the effects of it. I think about like some of the women that I've worked with, and they would say, "All right, Brian, I want to lose 100 pounds," and that's no small, obstacle to overcome because it's not going to happen tomorrow. It's not going to happen in 2 weeks or 3 weeks. No, there's going to be a journey. There's going to be a process, and I can think about how we went on this journey together. Lots of tears, lots of regret, having to heal broken places, in the heart where it's like, how did I even get here? And you go through these things in your journey. How did I get here? How did I get to this place? How did I gain this much weight? Like, how did this happen? And you're just questioning a lot of things. And I'm just talking about that particular situation. But I know the same thing for me when I was going through getting a divorce and all that and post divorce. I'm like, how did I get here? Through a lot of tears, through a lot of heartbreak. How did I get here? I never was supposed to be here. How did I get here? And you're like having regret, you're dealing with things. Like that's a part of the healing process that comes with a commitment to, but I'm gonna get better. I'm committed to healing. I'm committed to being whole. Like when you commit, see, your commitment to being whole is going to heal you if you go through the process. There are broken places in your life. There's some heartbreak or regret or some things that you deal with mentally and emotionally and spiritually and relationally. There's some stuff, right? But when you make that commitment to being whole, then that's when the strengthening happens. Because now you're saying, no, now you start looking, your whole entire being, your atmosphere, people around you, you start looking for answers to how to become whole. You're no longer just putting a band-aid on it and saying, oh, okay, I'm just going to mask the pain. No, you're saying, I'm looking to get to the root of the issue. How did I get here? Oh, now you might have to go into the past. You might have to see some dark places, but you're going to find some answers. And it's okay because you're not by yourself. You have a community that is awake around you. That's why you got to let some people in. You're not going to be able to do it by yourself because at some point you're going to need someone to love on you a little bit or a lot of it. You're going to need somebody else to encourage you. You'll need someone else's voice to just speak into your life and encourage you and keep you going. Like if you need heart surgery and you're laying on the table trying to do surgery by yourself, come on now. Look, that's not going to go over well. I mean, it looks great in the movies. They're pulling bullets out their arms, sewing themselves up. And I know that, people have probably done all that. But at a certain level of heartbreak and pain, you're not sitting there doing open heart surgery on yourself. You got to let somebody else in. So your nevertheless community matters. Who you're around, those connections, that matters. And so there needs to be a call from you because you have committed to nevertheless. And so there needs to be some conversation that happens with the people that are around you. And you need to go ahead and let them know, hey, look, I've decided, I've made a commitment. I'm going to the next level. This is what's going to happen. I'm getting healthy. I'm getting strong. I'm being whole. I'm being made whole. This is where I'm going. This is what's happening in my life. So I need you to wake up. I need you to be aware of this so that I don't fall into temptation of going back. I want to be accountable to somebody. And you get them to wake up. Keep them awake. And if you find that people they're not there, they might not be the ones. But it's necessary. Because where there is slumber, temptation will come in. And when it comes in strong enough, it's going to pull you back to the lesser place. But your commitment is to a greater place. So everything is aligned towards that greater place. Everything is aligned towards you being triumphant. Your conversation, your community, your commitment, even the conflict, all things are working together for your good. The conflict is working for you. It's not working against you. Don't get it twisted. When I go into the gym and I'm lifting weights, those weights are not working against me. Those weights work for me. I talk to the weights. I'm like, you are working for my good. You are working for my muscles. You are working for my strength. I'm so glad to see you. Like, this is the struggle for the day? Oh, got that. Let's go. See, you start talking to your conflict and you say, no, you're not destroying me. This little temporary battle where I'm losing some strength, I'm losing some energy. No, you're strengthening me. Because on the other side of this, I'm getting stronger. That's how you lock in. That's what you need. We need more action towards the direction that we say we're going. Not messing around, not just sitting by being entertained, being inspired, being motivated. All that's fine, well, and good. But you got to take some action. You got to take some wake up action, be aware action, prayer action, right? You got to know, okay, this is my go time. This is not time for you to be sleeping on the possibilities of your life. Don't just sit there like, oh, maybe it can happen. No. Go all in. Go all in with a confidence that says, no, I've committed. I have an expectation. See, that's what commitment does. Commitment can produce an expectation. It's only when we're just kind of curious that we don't have certainty. See, you know, when you're curious about something, you're like, I don't really know what's over there. And you're kind of looking, kind of leaning in, kind of backing up. No, when you're committed, you're like, all right, I'm just going in. I'm all in. One direction. There is no lean back. There's just forward. The commitment is I'm going. And so your commitment will bring about this expectation. You're like, okay, I'm committed to something greater. As I move forward, I'm anticipating something greater. I'm looking for something greater. I'm listening for something greater. All of my energy is focused on the greater. So I get it. Today I'm out of shape, but I'm committed to the greater. So tonight I might go to bed on time. I might have a bedtime. I'm going to set up a bedtime schedule. And you know what? I'm anticipating that this is going to work for me. You know what? I'm going to go grocery shopping tomorrow. I'm going to get some things that are going to be, healthy foods for me. Oh, I anticipate that this is going to help me. I might Google some recipes on how I can eat healthier. This is going to work for me. Everything is working together for your good. This is what salvation looks like. To be saved means to be made whole. Like, let's not get it twisted. You've probably heard the word like throughout, religious circles and otherwise. To be saved means to be made whole. That is the salvation. To be made whole. That's the whole story. Like, just to take a little Bible step back, that's the whole story. The whole point of the story is I am doing something to make people whole. There's a lot of pressure on me. I'm sweating blood, But I have to do this nevertheless, because at the end, when I come out victorious on this, the story will be that what you go through will not be enough to keep you from being made whole. You are meant to be made whole, saved. Saved from what? Lack of wholeness, lack of, lack, saved from lack of, saved from the lesser. Nevertheless, you've been saved to be made whole. Ha, right? That's pretty great, right? Pretty great process. So we look at our lives, don't get caught up in this thing like a religious mindset that it's about, oh, you did this wrong, you did that wrong. It's not it. It's about being made whole in every way. That is the story, that you can be made whole, that there would not be lack, that you can look at areas of your life and you say, you know what? I'm meant to live in abundance. I am meant to live in a place of wholeness. I'm not supposed to go through this life just being beat up and downtrodden. That's not living whole. I'm living less than. So we're looking for the things. We're seeking out, how do I have mental peace? How do I have emotional wellness? How do I have relational stability? How do I have? How do I have? How do I have? And you start asking for the answers that lead you to abundance. How can I have greater communication with my spouse, my kids at work, my clients, my customers? How can I have greater health? How can I do better with my finances and be more financially sound? How can I execute on these dreams? How can I build self-confidence and self-esteem so that I can show up being my whole and best self whenever I show up? That is the mission. That is the assignment, and that is the opportunity. What does your life look like when you are made whole? And only you can really imagine it, because you know, what does your life look like when you're not simply doing things to manage a miserable situation? What does it look like when you actually sign up for the adventures of your life? The things, the things that make you smile, the things that excite your heart, the things that other people think are strange and weird about you, but it does something for you. When you think about taking that risk, it brings you to life. What is it when you live in that place of fulfillment? What does your life look like? See, glowing. You feel that glow. I think about the movie The Last Dragon, and he got the glow. Some of y'all know about The Last Dragon. Some of you probably don't, but at least I used to watch that growing up. The Last Dragon, you get the glow. That you know what that glow is? That's the radiance. There's a radiance that will just come from your presence, your whole aura, the way that you talk, the way that you move in life. Listen, it all starts to develop. I'm very big on starting with very surface level things. Start off taking better care of your health. Why? Because you can see it, right? It's top level, surface level. It is surface level. Take care of your health. Just decide today, I'm going to do something that causes myself to be healthier. Start right there, okay? Because how can you take care of the things and love the things that you don't see, right? Like, how can you love the things that you don't see and don't love the things that you do see? How can you love God who you don't see, but you don't love your brother who you do see? Right? So it's all about you. You can't just be saying you love the invisible, your ideas, your dreams, and all that, and then just say, well, I don't really care that much about my body. Like, what? Come on now, that's surface level. That's what you see when you pass the mirror every day. So there's something, a deposit that you can make there just to get you going. And then move into, like, then let that seed start spreading out. Let those roots start spreading out into other aspects of your life. Because your thought is, I want to live in abundance. I am going to live in abundance. I am going to live whole as a whole person. Appreciate that, Rose. So just lock in. One of the reasons I love Passion Week, right? Some people, call it Holy Week, Passion Week. I'm like, it's a very passionate week. You rehearse the story because it is so passionate. It is I'm about to win, and I'm about to win in a big way. Like, I love it from a competitor standpoint. This is a very, the story of Jesus is a very competitive story. I'm an athlete. I process that way. I'm like, this is the ultimate battle, the ultimate struggle. The chicks are doing great. You might be able to hear them in the background. Um, it's a great struggle, a great battle. And the victory is great. And so I think when we can embrace this idea, this thought that says, I am victorious. I'm here to dominate. I'm here to conquer. I'm here to win in life. Like that, that's a game changer. You say, all right, I'm here to dominate. You hear me say it a lot, like, hey, dominate life. Dominate life. Why? Because when you can dominate life, that means life is no longer over top of you, pressing you down. You're now in the victorious position. So take that all in and lock in to your commitment, right? Lock into nevertheless, all right? Lock into nevertheless. Lock into your commitment. Lock into understanding there's going to be a conflict that happens. It's part of it. It's part of getting strong. There's going to be conflict. There's going to be struggle. Just go ahead and accept that and build community. Have people around you that are awake, that want to help you and support you, keep you from the temptation of going back, living lesser. Don't do that. Get yourself a coach, get yourself a trainer, get yourself an accountability partner, get something. Because when you do it by yourself, it's easy to sneak off and just do the thing that nobody sees. Don't do that. Because then you're just lying to yourself. Don't do that. Do whatever you need to do to make sure you win. Right? Do what you need to do to be victorious, and not just a little bit victorious. Leave no doubt that this is your winning season. Don't make it a close match. No, go ahead and dominate. Go all in and win. Father, thank you for this day. Thank you for the blessings of this moment, for each and every person that is here. Thank you for those that are watching on replay. Thank you for this opportunity to focus on the abundant opportunity that's before us. Thank you for a commitment to living greater. Thank you for the conflict that comes with it. And thank you for the community that we have around us to help us to be accountable and to fight off the temptation and to be aware. Thank you for awareness, that we're not just going through life blind and just letting things just be in our environment. No, that we are here and we're eyes wide open. We're on the move. We are being aware of our environment and we are moving forward in it. So thank you for this aggressive attitude, this aggressive stance, this aggressive approach, that we are not going backwards. I pray for each and every person right now that they've just been considering life, considering this calling. They've heard it and they've wondered if this is their time, if this is their moment. I pray that someone would just step out into a bold place and know without a shadow of a doubt that this is their time. And that this decision that they're making, these moves that they are making, are moves and decisions that will make them whole. It will save them from some stuff, from some anguish, from some disappointment, from some unfulfilled living. Thank you for saving us from that and ushering us into something greater. I pray blessings upon each one as they do what they need to do to move forward, as they are accountable and they wake up their environment and they make their bold decisions and declarations and take the stance and let the world know this is where they are. I pray that they would move forward in that and that they would prosper, that each and every area of their life would prosper, even as they align with your will, that they would step into their assignment, whatever it is, and that they would not minimize it one bit, but they would see it and see themselves as important in your plan. I pray blessings and health upon each one. I ask that you encamp angels of protection around them as we depart from one another's presence. And we thank you in advance, counting these things as done. In Jesus' name, amen. All right. You all have a fantastic night. I appreciate you being here. As always, it has been a really great week. So I'm glad that we've been together. It's time for you to wake up your community. That's what tonight has been all about, community. So get some people around you that are awake and aware of where you are going, of your next level. Surround yourself with those people. Keep you from temptation. And if you're that person for someone else, make sure you're going to be that wide awake person for them as well. They don't need somebody that's going to be asleep on the watch. All right. So be aware, be awake, love one another. I'm B.A. Shepherd, 2 P's, A-R-D, reminding you to be a shepherd. The world has enough sheep. Love you much. See ya.